Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming SCS exams happening in November 2025. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for SCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to share some insights into how you should rebound from failure. Some of you might have failed the previous SCS sitting, and I will be highlighting shortcomings, common pitfalls faced by students, and I will also share some solutions which will enable you to avoid these shortcomings when conducting your preparations in the upcoming 6 weeks. And also, I will be, most importantly, I will be teaching you answering and time management techniques. After I've taught you these two techniques, I will take you through one of the mock exams, thereby highlighting how you should apply the answering and time management techniques in a practical manner. And before we get into the technicalities, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming webinars and workshops we have scheduled for you. In the fourth webinar, Exam Prep, which is happening on Sunday at 10 a.m. UK or 9 GMT, I'm going to take you through the exam blueprint, thereby explaining the examiner's comments, which is essential it's essential for you to understand what the examiner expects from you. So I will be highlighting these elements, and at the same time, I will be sharing stress management techniques with you, because at this exam, as I've told you in the first webinar, the examiner is not just testing your theory knowledge and application. The examiner is also testing whether you are capable of managing a stressful situation. So that is why it's essential that you practice stress management techniques whenever you are attempting mock exams. So I will be teaching these elements in the fourth webinar. And once we are done with the webinar series, we are kickstarting the workshop series, in which I'm going to direct your attention towards each pillar, what is contained within each pillar, and at the same time, I will take you through mock exams. So similar to what I'm going to do in today's webinar, I will be taking you through mock exams concerning your F3, P3, and E3 syllabi. And as usual, within these workshops, I will be conducting Q&As. And in the final workshop, which happens 2 or 3 days before your examination, I will be sharing last minute tips with you to make sure that you have the capability of walking into the exam with a positive mindset. Because if you believe in yourself, if you are positive, then chances of you passing this exam increases significantly. So make use of these free resources on offer. Attend these weekly webinars and workshops, which is the best way to learn technicalities. And at the same time, this is the best way to keep tabs about your performance on a weekly basis. And having said that, let's try to understand how you should get out of a failure. So first things first, you need to conduct your own personal reflection and see whether you gave your best shot last time. So in a little while, I'm going to highlight some shortcomings, thereby explaining as to why you would have failed. So go through the same points on your own, be honest to yourself, and try to figure out what went wrong last time. Because if you do not conduct this personal reflection, you might end up repeating the same mistakes in this time's sitting as well. So it's essential that you understand your shortcomings and take steps to overcome these shortcomings in the upcoming 6 weeks when conducting your preparation. So you need to diagnose the reasons which led to a failure and address these issues this time. And the best way to do so is by referring to our mock exams, the suggested answers, and the answer plans. Then you will realize how each syllabus area is tested at the examination, and at the same time, you will realize how you should structure your answers concerning each and every question which appears within our mock exams. So you have to conduct your preparations focused on the mock exams, because if you waste a lot of time to learn theory on your own and then figure out application, you won't have enough time to go through the entire syllabus and be aware of how each syllabus area is tested. That is why it's essential that you start your preparations right now and stick to mock attempts and conduct revision based on the same mock exams. Then you need not worry about what you are going to achieve at your real examination. So the action plan is to work smarter than the previous attempt. So I'm not asking you to work hard. Instead, I'm asking you to work smart this time. And the smartest approach to conduct your preparations in a stress-free environment is to stick to our study plan, because as per our study plan, you are not supposed to, spend a lot of time on exam prep. Simply, if you dedicate 7 to 9 hours of study time per week, you can pass this examination. So let's try to understand what type of shortcomings students face, which leads to a failure. So the biggest problem is the fact that students are ill prepared, given the fact that they only attempt 2 or 3 mock exams. So if you had gone through past exam variants or past papers, you would have seen that the examiner develops 6 different papers or 6 different versions focused on one single pre-seen document. Why 6 variants? Because the examiner intends to cover the entire syllabus across these 6 different papers. So if the examiner is developing 6 papers with the intention of covering the entire syllabus, when conducting your preparation, it's essential that you replicate a similar methodology. Therefore, there's no way out of this. You have to attempt 6 mock exams this time, because if you do so, you will know how each syllabus area is tested, and this knowledge will ensure that you are successful at your real examination. Because even if you have completed your OTQ exams, your E3, F3, and P3 OTQs, you need to get your bearings with how each syllabus area can be tested at this examination. So at your OTQ exams, for instance, you have to, under your F3 syllabus, you have to do certain calculations, and it's simply a matter of, working out some numbers and, selecting the most appropriate answer. However, in this exam, you are not expected to do any calculations. The only type of calculation is tied to you having to rework a post-investment gearing ratio. Other than that, there aren't any calculations. So all the facts and figures are shared with you. Your job is to understand how to explain these numbers and use it for decision making. So this is a bit tough because compared to the OTQ exams in which your theory knowledge is tested, in here, your application skills are tested, because you have to, as a decision maker, you should have the capability of applying the conceptual knowledge which you have gained via your E3, F3, and P3 syllabi when being involved with long-term decision making. So if you are planning to attempt just 2 or 3 mock exams this time, definitely you are walking into the exam with knowledge gaps. You won't know how each syllabus area is tested. Especially if you are coming through the exemption route, it's essential that you gain a good understanding of how each syllabus area can be tested at the exam. If not, you will have to repeat this examination. So that is why we at TCS, we are trying to replicate the same methodology which is adopted by the CIMA examiner. That is why we have painstakingly developed 6 mock exams with the intention of ensuring that you are walking into the exam without any knowledge gaps. And also, the second problem is tied to a scenario where you don't practice mock exams under simulated exam conditions. So in a little while, I'm going to take you through the exam platform, and I'm going to explain how the exam platform works, and the technicalities behind your exam platform. It's essential that you get a good understanding of how the exam platform works. Because if you are, experiencing the exam platform for the first time at your real exam, you are going to struggle a bit. And when you are struggling, it leads to undue levels of stress, and therefore you are going to run out of time. So in order to avoid these shortcomings, it's essential that you practice mocks under a similar exam platform when conducting your preparations. And at the same time, it's essential that you have the capability of practicing answering time management and stress management techniques whenever you are attempting mock exams. So towards the very end of today's webinar, I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques. Just learning these techniques won't help. You have to make sure that you practice these techniques. If not, you are not going to champion these 2 techniques. And without championing them, you are going to run out of time at your exam. And at the same time, you won't develop answers which are of high quality or answers which are well structured. So it's essential that you practice mocks under simulated exam conditions. So, some of you got in touch with me yesterday as well as day before yesterday, those who had failed previously. And when I was asking you questions about your preparation strategy, I was informed the fact that some of you, when it comes to attempting mock exams, let's assume you are attempting a single mock exam. It could be mock number 1. So when attempting mock number 1, as you know, there are 3 sections within a typical mock exam. So there's a tendency for students to attempt section number 1 of a certain mock exam today, section number 2 tomorrow, and section number 3 day after tomorrow. However, at the exam, you have to sit in one place across 3 hours and be exposed to extreme levels of stress and operate under time pressure, under a time pressured environment, and attempt all 3 sections one after the other. So you are taking a break when attempting your mock exams. However, at the exam, you can't take a break between sections. So due to fatigue, your stress levels will increase, and therefore, especially towards the last section, section number 3, you will run out of time and you will end up developing half-hearted answers. So it's essential that you get conversant about how your exam operates and what type of stresses you will encounter. That is why we at TCS, we have developed an exam platform, which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you attempt your real examination. So in a little while, you'll see what I'm talking about. So it's essential that you practice your answering, time management, and stress management techniques under exam conditions. If not, you are going to run out of time and struggle at your real examination. And another major problem, especially concerning those who are coming through the exemption routes such as FLP, C-suite, and whatnot, you guys lack technical knowledge concerning E3, F3, and P3 syllabi. So you are somewhat conversant with what is highlighted within E3, because these elements tied to strategy development are covered within your academic qualifications, which you have pursued before, getting exemptions for CIMA. However, there are significant knowledge gaps concerning your F3 and P3 syllabi. So I'm going to take you through the syllabus coverage document. We have made sure to cover all these syllabus elements when developing our mock exams. And, after I take you through this document, you will understand whether you have knowledge gaps or not, especially if you're coming through an exemption route. So your knowledge concerning strategy, evaluation, and formulation, which falls under your E3 syllabus, will be tested. So you need to have an understanding about how to evaluate strategic options. It could be, various different strategic options. It could be us pursuing for some type of a diversification, or us trying to do something totally new. So when exploiting these type of opportunities, you need to have the capability to understand whether these initiatives are aligned with the vision, mission, and values of your chosen organization. So there is a connection between the unseen info, which highlights some type of strategic option, and also you need to bring in pre-seen info when talking about the vision, mission, and values. So there's a way in which you should do this. And on top of that, as I mentioned earlier, your knowledge concerning some type of diversification, it could be a vertical integration, or us entering into a new market can be tested at the exam. So with regards to vertical integration, it could be vertical backward integration, in which we are integrating with one of our suppliers, or it could be vertical forward integration, in which we are, for instance, acquiring charging, public charging services provider. So I've considered, with regards to backward vertical integration, I've considered us acquiring a lithium mining company, and as part of vertical forward integration, I've considered a situation where we are pondering about diversifying into setting up public charging points on our own, or acquiring a public charging services provider, or going for a PPP, private-public partnership, with local governments. Because in your pre-scene, you would have seen that there is a mention about this. There's a news article which mentions about the costs tied to setting up public charging points, which comes up to $60,000 per public charging point. So because of that, local governments are reluctant to set these up. So due to this reluctance, we can go for a PPP, public-private partnership, thereby sharing the costs the benefits as well as risks between us and local government. So these type of diversification elements or scenarios can be tested at the exam, and how to purchase options, how to react to various different options at our disposal. And if we are opting for some type of an acquisition, you need to know how to evaluate these acquisitions, and you need to know the differences between us pursuing organic versus inorganic growth. So I've considered, as I mentioned earlier, under inorganic growth, I've considered an acquisition scenario as well as a PPP scenario. Also, you need to understand what an emergent approach to strategy formulation is. We are a quoted company, and it appears that we are adhering to the rational planning model when it comes to strategy formulation. But whenever we are doing something new, we have to adopt an emergent approach to strategy formulation. Also, we have to fall in line with disclosure legislation, especially given the fact that there's high interest towards sustainability within this industry and within our company. And we have to understand shareholder concerns and come up with or react to shareholder concerns as and when necessary. You should know how to deal with a share price drop, as well as you should have the capability of using various different tools such as competitor analysis tools, scenario planning, as well as the suitability, acceptability, feasibility, or the SAF framework. And your knowledge concerning board responsibilities will be tested at this stage, given that you are playing the role of a senior finance manager. So the board members should have the capability of managing system incompatibilities, and therefore you should have a good understanding of how to deal with these type of issues, and you should know how to manage the internal business environment. If we are trying to do something new, our business ecosystem is going to change, and you should know how to react to these ecosystem changes and how to implement change management strategies, especially concerning overcoming resistance to change, and how to deal with various different stakeholders and manage them. And in today's webinar, I'm going to take you through a question tied to stakeholder management. And you should also know how to conduct disciplinary action in the most ethical and prudent manner, and how to appoint a risk manager. The rationale, you should have the capability of explaining the rationale behind such an appointment, as well as determine the responsibilities such a risk manager should look into. And also your knowledge concerning appointing a board committee. It could be tied to sustainability. It could be tied to setting up a cybersecurity committee. Although I've considered both these angles when developing the mock exams, I've not mentioned it in here. So both these angles can be tested at the examination. And your knowledge concerning corporate governance and ethical business practices will be tested. So you should know the accountability levels which the board should hold on to, as well as how to deal with directors' remuneration, how to restructure the board, what to consider when appointing an executive director versus a non-executive director, how to dismiss a director, and your knowledge concerning ethics and corporate governance tied to chairman's or the non-executive chairs or some board members' actions. You should have the capability of evaluating actions of board members or non-executive chair or the non-executive chair concerning corporate governance best practices and the CIMA Code of Ethics. And when carrying out lobbying initiatives, definitely we'd have to lobby. So when carrying out lobbying initiatives, you have to know how to do it in an ethical manner, as well as when opting for sustainability disclosures, we have to do it in an ethical manner as well. So all these elements will be tested, which are tied to your E3 syllabus. Then focusing your attention towards your finance strategy or the F3 syllabus, you need to have a good understanding of financing options concerning debt versus equity, given the fact that we are a quoted company. And when opting for debt, we should demonstrate creditworthiness to lenders. So you should know which elements or which angles we should consider, and how to handle a rights issue when raising share capital, and how to deal with debt covenants when opting for additional debt or when acquiring another company. I've considered both these angles. And how to value companies. It could be a small company, it could be an established company. So the valuation methods are quite different. I've again considered both these elements when developing the mocks, and how to pay and what to look into when paying an additional dividend, and you should know the implication of us paying an additional dividend, how it impacts our financial situation as well as the internals, and how dividend cancellation impacts us as well as various different stakeholders. And your knowledge concerning the 6 capitals framework will be tested. And you should also know how the share price might react when some type of risk materializes, and how a share price reacts due to us pursuing some type of strategic option, and the connection between the beta and the share price. So you should have a good understanding of how the share price is going to react if the beta increases, and alternatively how the share price is going to react when the beta decreases. And your knowledge concerning risk identification and mitigation will definitely be tested, which is highlighted within your P3 syllabus, performance strategy syllabus. So there are 6 different risks which appear within your risk report, the current risk register of your chosen company, and these are the 6 risks. So there's a mention about competitor risks, infrastructure and customer risks, regulatory and political, economic, supply chain, and foreign exchange risks. So I've considered all these 6 different risks when developing the mock exams. And in addition to these, there are certain shortcomings or there are certain risks which we should have considered. However, these risks do not appear within our current risk register. So considering the shortcomings, I've included questions concerning cybersecurity, data security, and privacy risks, distribution and dealership relationships, product safety and recall, as well as warranty and battery degradation risks. And on top of all these things, you should know how we should deal with social engineering attacks or phishing attacks, how to deal with reputational risks. And concerning all these types of risks, you need to understand how we should update the existing risk register, especially given the fact that there are shortcomings. Definitely, the examiner will ask you to update the risk register. So there's a certain methodology which you need to adhere to. So you need to know all these things. Don't worry, we have covered them within the 6 mock exams. And also concerning internal audit responsibilities, you should know how to conduct acquisition negotiations, how the internal audit department should be part and parcel of acquisition negotiations, and how to conduct internal audits, what to look at, what type of angles to look at, as well as how to conduct compliance testing to see whether our employees are adhering to the internal controls stipulated by the internal audit department. And finally, your knowledge concerning internal controls will be tested. So you should have the capability to suggest internal controls with the intention of preventing data breaches, as well as preventing any type of risk, and preventing any type of internal issues from recurring in the future. All right, so this is quite huge. Your syllabus is quite huge. So it's essential that you gain a good understanding of each of these syllabus areas and how each syllabus area can be tested, and based on these syllabus areas, how you should develop your answers. That is why if you want to cover all these areas, it's essential that you attempt the 6 mock exams which we have developed, because if you're, as I mentioned earlier, if you're simply planning to pass this exam by attempting 2 or 3 mock exams, you are gravely mistaken. It's essential that you take steps to improve your knowledge concerning each syllabus area and how each syllabus area can be tested at the exam. If not, you will be testing your luck at your examination. And there are shortcomings in relation to application as well, because just because you know your theory or conceptual elements, if you don't know how to apply these conceptual elements when developing your answers, when conducting evaluations, when recommending something, then you are not going to get any marks. So for instance, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take you through a question tied to stakeholder management in today's session. So as you know, whenever your knowledge concerning stakeholder management is tested, you are supposed to utilize your knowledge concerning the Mendelow's matrix. And when developing the answer, you should not explain the Mendelow's matrix. Instead, you should bring in what you have learned via the Mendelow's matrix and include it and apply it when developing your answer. Because as I mentioned throughout this webinar series, the examiner is trying to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So in a real-life corporate environment, let's assume you receive an email from your superior. When responding to your superior, you are never going to explain conceptual elements or theories. Instead, you are supposed to come up with a practical answer. So that is why this exam is application heavy. So if you don't know how to apply your knowledge in the most successful manner, then you are going to struggle to pass this examination. So don't worry. If you have knowledge gaps, if you have issues with application, we have developed answer plans as well as master classes with the prime intention of teaching you theory and application in one single video. So rather than you having to learn theory on your own separately and then having to learn application, you need not worry about these elements. We have covered both these elements via the master classes, and when you watch them, you will understand how each syllabus area can be tested, how you should structure your answer, and how you should deal with application. And also another issue is tied to relying on past exam variants or past papers. So this is a major shortcoming. Most students think that they can simply go through past exam variants or past papers and end up passing, and later they figure out that they get extremely low marks. So why is this the case? Why can't we rely on past exam variants, given the fact that these papers or past exam variants are based on a different pre-seen document? So if you look at last time's pre-seen, which was based on a satellite manufacturer called Leothair, a satellite manufacturing company's industry is absolutely different when you look at the EV manufacturing industry. And on top of that, the board composition of Leothair, the vision, mission, and the values of Leothair, along with the type of board committees, corporate governance practice within Leothair, the type of risks, what appears within the financial statements, and what appeared within the news articles are completely different compared to what you see within Cewmlator's pre-seen. So if you refer to past exam variants, you will be misguided, and at the same time, you will struggle to understand the logic behind each answer, because these answers are aligned with the internals and externals of Leothair, the previous pre-scenes company, not your chosen company. So it's essential that you do not waste time to go through past exam variants, because you'd be misdirected. Instead, you have to conduct your preparations focused on pre-seen specific mock exams. So don't waste time, because if you spend a lot of time to go through these past variants, and if you really are in a position to understand these past variants, the logic behind the answers concerning the past variants, then you need to have an in-depth understanding of what appeared within a previous pre-seen document. So without understanding the internals and externals of a previous company, you are not in a position to really understand the logic behind each answer. So why should you waste time to go through a previous pre-seen and try to decrypt it when you should be focusing on your current pre-seen? And also, inappropriate answering technique is a problem which leads to a mismanagement of time. That is why I want you guys to learn the answering and time management techniques, which I'm going to teach you in today's session. And after learning them, I want you to implement them or practice them whenever you are attempting our 6 mock exams. And via practice, you will stand a chance to improve your answers, the quality of your answers, improve the way in which you structure your answers, and at the same time, manage your time appropriately. Because as I mentioned earlier, I got in touch with some of you who failed previously, and most of you were saying that you ran out of time. This happens when you do not stick to an appropriate answering technique. So after today's session, you will realize what your shortcomings are, hopefully. And also, another problem is the fact that you don't revise. Students think that simply by attempting mock exams, they can pass. Even if you have access to our 6 mock exams, even if you attempt each of these mock exams under exam conditions, you won't pass this exam unless and otherwise you take steps to revise your knowledge. So that's why you have to redevelop answer plans, thereby conducting revision focused on each and every mock exam. So you will understand what this is all about, what redeveloping answer plans is all about in a little while, because I'm going to explain what an answer plan should look like. So after attempting each mock exam, rather than skipping the revision, what you should do is to make sure that you have the capability of replicating TCS's answer plans. If you have the capability of replicating our answer plans, then you are well poised to get good marks at your examination. So at this exam, your objective should be to improve your skill set. You already have some some type of skills because you are already running your own business, or you are already employed within a company, hopefully in the finance department. However, via this examination, your objective should be to improve your skill set, because your these improvements will ensure that you will climb the corporate ladder faster than others, and at the same time you will improve the way in which you run your business. So that is why you have to take steps to improve your knowledge and uh, improve the way in which you consider multiple angles when conducting an evaluation. When suggesting recommendations, you have to always come up with justified recommendations. So all these things you will understand better when you take steps to revise after each mock attempt, because when attempting mock exams under exam conditions, your objective should be to practice answering time management and stress management techniques. But after the mock attempt is done, with the intention of improving your knowledge, improving your application skills, you need to focus your attention towards revision. So your knowledge gaps are fixed only during revision, not when you are attempting mock exams. And non-adherence to a study plan is a problem as well. That is why most students wait until the last 2 weeks to start preparations. Within the last 2 weeks, yes, you will have enough time to attempt all 6 mocks, but you won't have enough time to conduct revision. As I mentioned earlier, it's essential to revise. If not, you are not going to overcome your knowledge gaps. You are not going to improve your answering technique as well as application skills. So I asked you to conduct a personal reflection, and when doing so, try to understand whether you face these same type of problems, and now you know how to overcome them. And I hope you will stick to our study plan in the upcoming 6 weeks and be disciplined enough to adhere to the study plan. If so, you need not worry about overcoming all these types of issues. All right, then having said that, let's move on to the second part of today's webinar, in which as promised, I'm going to explain or teach you answer planning technique. So first things first, you need to stick to this 5-step approach when it comes to developing answer plans or structuring your answers. So first things first, you need to dedicate 5 minutes of your time to read through the scenario. So let me quickly explain how you should do this. So this is, I'm going to direct your attention towards SCS Mock 1, section number 1. As you can see, there's a scenario. It's as if you are receiving an email from your finance director, and there's a subject which is tied to diversification and industry pressures. So there's a lot of information here, and you can see certain requirements as well. So there's a scenario, requirement, and another requirement. There are 3 requirements in this section. And also there's some reference material which gives you some additional information. So you have to read through all this information within 5 minutes. And some of you might be struggling to achieve this. That's quite all right. With practice, you can significantly improve your reading speed. Even if you take 7 minutes to read through the entire scenario and the reference material, I don't mind, as long as you restrict it to 7 minutes. So if you're struggling with reading speed, what you need to do is purchase your weekly newspaper, and keep read through this newspaper on a daily basis by dedicating 30 to 60 minutes of your time. So each day in the upcoming 6 weeks, on a daily basis, if you dedicate 30 minutes to 60 minutes of your time towards reading, then you will see a significant improvement in your reading speed, because reading has everything to do with muscle memory, just like anything else in our lives. So unless and otherwise you take steps to practice your reading, you are never going to improve your reading speed. And if you're a slow reader, you are definitely going to run out of time. So if you have a major reading problem, then don't focus your attention towards attempting in November. First, you need to fix your reading issue, and then focus on conducting your preparations with the intention of passing this exam. So if you're really struggling with reading, take steps. You must take steps to practice your reading. Or if not, you'd have to sit in February. Don't sit for the exam or the sitting which is happening in November. So you have to read the scenario within 5 to 7 minutes, and then before structuring your answer, you are supposed to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a simpler manner. So if you look at the first requirement, it's quite long. You are supposed to evaluate the financial analyst's comments regarding Cewmlator's proposal to launch a premium EV range with roof integrated solar charging technology. So there's a lot of information in this requirement. So rather than having access to an extended requirement, it makes your life easy when you simplify it. So you are supposed to simplify this requirement with two objectives in mind. Objective number one is to gain a clear understanding of what you are expected to achieve. So most students who end up failing, they struggle to really understand the requirement. This happens due to the fact that you are operating in a time-pressured environment. So leisurely, if you read through this scenario, you will easily understand what this requirement is. But when you're operating under exam conditions, when you're operating in a time-pressured environment, however much times you read this question or this requirement, nothing will go into your head, especially if you are in section number 3, because by the time you are in section number 3, fatigue sets in. Fatigue leads to extreme levels of stress, and extreme levels of stress leads to brain freeze, in which you'd be stuck for your thoughts. Nothing. You are trying to think, nothing goes into your head. You are trying to read, you cannot understand anything. So in order to make sure that you gain a clear understanding of what this requirement is, you are supposed to simplify it. So that's the first objective. And the second objective is to make sure that whilst developing the answer plan, you always have access to a simplified requirement, which makes your life easy when it comes to tracking whether your answer is aligned with the requirement or not. So with these two objectives in mind, you are supposed to simplify the requirement. So if I take you to the answer plan, that's exactly what I've done here. FA's comments, or the financial analyst's comments regarding investing on solar technology. All right, so this is about us introducing a range of solar integrated vehicles. So that's exactly what you can see here in a simplified manner, investing on solar technology. The financial analysts had said something about it within the scenario. Your job is to evaluate the FA's comments concerning the investments made on solar powered vehicles. And on top of that, looking at the second requirement, this is quite short. Evaluate the CEO's suggestion with regards to the bonus. Director's bonus, I've kept it simple so that I can easily understand what the requirement is. And whilst developing the answer plan, I can always refer back to a simplified requirement and easily figure out whether my answer is headed in the correct direction, or whether my answer is aligned with the requirement or not. And the third requirement is to recommend comprehensive strategies for Cewmlator to effectively manage stakeholder pressures created due to environmental issues, strategies to manage stakeholder pressure. All right, so likewise, you need to simplify each requirement before you develop your answer plan. And also, then you need to focus your attention towards developing headings and subheadings, because there's a way in which you should structure your answer. Let me take you to the suggested answer. This is what your final answer should look like. So as you can see, this is the answer plan or the answer structure. I'm going to explain how you should develop this type of an answer plan in a little while. So this is how you should structure your answer or plan out your answer. Once you have planned out your answer, your final answer should look something like this, which should be in paragraph form. And as I told you earlier, in section number 1, you can see 3 subtasks. So per subtask, you need to come up with a main heading, which is in bold and underline format. So within a section, if there are 2 subtasks, then in your final answer, there should be 2 main headings. And alternatively, if there were 3 subtasks within a certain section, then in your final answer, there should be 3 main headings. So your number of headings should be aligned with the number of subtasks which appear within each and every section. So if you look at this mock exam in section number 1, there are 3 subtasks. Therefore, if you look at my final answer, this is my first main heading. As you can see, this is in bold and underline format. I have not numbered the section or the heading. I've not mentioned a section number. I have not mentioned number 1 or A or whatever. Instead, I've simply come up with a main heading. This is exactly how you should structure your answers as well, because always remember, you are operating in a real life corporate environment. You are supposed to operate in a real life corporate environment. So when you are responding to your boss, you are not going to mention a task number. Instead, you are supposed to come up with main headings. So that's exactly what you can see here. This is the first main heading, and this is the second main heading, which is again in bold and underline format, and this is the third main heading. Okay, so that's how you should structure your answers. And as and when necessary, you can come up with subheadings as well within a certain subtask. If you feel that you need to further fraction out your answer, you are welcome to come up with subheadings which should be in bold format, so that there's a clear demarcation between your main headings and subheadings. So main headings should be in bold and underline format. Subheadings should be in bold format. So once you have determined the headings and subheadings, then you should proceed towards developing the answer plan. And when structuring your answer, or when developing your answer plan, you are supposed to dedicate 30 minutes of your time, and you need to develop the answer plans covering all subtasks. So in this question, there are 3 subtasks. So you should have the capability of developing the answer plan concerning all 3 subtasks within 30 minutes. So I do not want you to focus your attention towards the first subtask, develop the answer, focus your attention towards expanding the answer in paragraph form, and then move on to section number 2. You should not do it. Instead, what you should do is, when it comes to planning your answer or structuring your answer, solely focus your attention towards planning or structuring your answer. And when doing so, you should have the capability to develop answer plans focused on all subtasks which appear within a section within just 30 minutes. So when you practice this technique for the first time, although I'm asking you to develop an answer plan within 30 minutes, you are definitely going to take 45 to 50 minutes, which is quite normal because you are practicing this technique for the first time. So as human beings, when we are doing something new, it takes us some time to get our bearings with it. So you'd spend some additional time. But with practice, by the time you are in mock number 3, you will gain the capability to develop answer plans focused on all subtasks within just 30 minutes. All right, so you need to develop the answer plan within 30 minutes. And when developing this answer plan, you are supposed to determine mark allocations based on the weightages provided. So as you can see, there are weightages at the end of each section and the end of each subtask. So the weightage provided for subtask A is 30%. And as you know, each section is dedicated 50 marks in total. So 30% of 50 marks come up to 15 marks in total. So now you know how much marks are dedicated for each subtask. And when you know the mark allocations, you can easily determine how many points you should include within your answer. So how are you supposed to determine the number of points based on mark allocations? Divide 15 by 3. You will get an answer which is 5. Again, divide 15 by 2. You'd get an answer which is 7.5. So if you come up with 5 to 8 valid points for subtask A, you are going to score full marks. Why am I saying this? Because each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So in order to score 15 marks, you have to either come up with 5 points, assuming that you are gaining 3 marks per point, or you need to come up with 8 points, assuming that you are gaining 2 marks per point. So that is how you are supposed to determine the number of points you need to include within your answer plan based on the mark allocations. And when you do so, you are taking steps to ensure that you are developing an answer which is 100% aligned with mark allocations. Therefore, your answer will not be too short or too long. So most students who end up failing this exam, they spend a lot of time on one single subtask. Because of that, they run out of time when trying to address the latter subtasks which appear within a section. So you can avoid this situation if you stick to this answering technique, because you are only supposed to come up with a number of points by understanding mark allocation. So you won't, for instance, if you look at these 3 sections, the second subtask, carries the least amount of marks, 10 marks. So this is an easy area because anybody knows how to deal with a director's bonus. So because of that, students tend to spend a lot of time in the easier subtasks. You won't do so because you are only supposed to come up with 3 to 5 points to gain 10 marks. So you will just come up with 3 points or 5 points, then move on to the third subtask without coming up with an extended or an extremely long answer, which makes absolutely no sense when you are only supposed to score 10 marks. Just because you come up with 20 points, you are not going to get additional marks. The examiner is only, if your answers are accurate, the examiner is only going to give you 10 marks if that is the mark allocation for this subtask. So stick to this answering technique. You are supposed to determine mark allocations based on the weightages. And since each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks per answer point, then divide the marks by 3. Again, divide the mark by 2. Then you will understand how many points you should include within your answer plan, and then proceed towards coming up with the relevant number of points. And when developing the answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself. Do not use the scratch pad. I'm going to take you through the exam platform in a little while. Then you will understand why I'm asking you not to develop the answer plan on the scratch pad. Instead, simply develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. And once you have developed the answer plan, once you have developed an answer plan concerning all subtasks which appear within a section, your next step should be focused on expanding the answer plan in paragraph form. And in order to expand the entire answer in paragraph form, you need to dedicate 25 minutes covering all subtasks. And when expanding your answer, you should develop a paragraph per answer point. So if you look at this answer plan, this is in bullet points. There are various different points in here. So each valid per each valid point, you need to come up with a paragraph. So your final answer should look something like this. As you can see, I've come up with various different paragraphs. I have not written the entire answer in one single paragraph. I've factioned out this answer into multiple paragraphs with the intention of ensuring that the marker is happy to mark your paper. You are assisting the marker because the marker can easily count the number of paragraphs which appear within your answer. Based on the paragraphs, the marker can determine how many points you have tried to include in your answer. And when it comes to marking, let's assume there are 10 paragraphs in your answer, then the marker knows that, okay, this individual has highlighted 10 different points. And out of these 10 points, let's assume 7 are accurate and 3 are inaccurate. The marker can easily denote the marks and move forward. So it's good to be in the good books of your marker, because although you are taking 3 hours to attempt the entire exam, the marker takes just 10 to 12 minutes to mark the entire paper. And on top of that, the marker is not just going through your paper. The marker will have to go through hordes and hordes of papers on a given day. So because of that, it's better to assist the marker, be in the good books of your marker. If so, if you achieve a marginal score, which is something around 78 or 79, the marker might give you the additional marks because you have assisted the marker. So it's better to be in the good books of the marker or assist the marker. And this is exactly what the CIMA examiner is telling us as well. So don't write the entire answer in one single paragraph. Instead, divide your paragraphs based on the number of answer points which you intended to include as per your answer plan. So within your answer plan, if you intended to include 8 valid points, in your final answer, there should be 8 different paragraphs. Alternatively, in another subtask, if you thought about including 10 points in your answer plan, then in your final answer, you should have 10 different paragraphs. All right, so that's the answering technique. You have to keep practicing this 5-step process over and over whenever you are attempting mocks under exam conditions. All right, so having said that, let's talk further about the answering technique. So as you know, you have to come up with a heading per subtask. and each heading should be in bold and underlined format, and you are invited to come up with subheadings if necessary, and these subheadings should be in bold format. And similar to your reading speed, you need to think in terms of your typing speed as well, because the expected typing speed as per the CIMA examiner is 20 words per minute. So you should have the capability of typing at least 20 words per minute. If you're struggling with typing, I know some of you are. If you're struggling with typing, you are never going to manage your time at your exam. So similar to how I said about improving your reading speed, you have to practice your typing. This is the only way to improve your typing speed, because again, it has everything to do with muscle memory. So on a daily basis, if you suck at typing, on a daily basis, purchase a newspaper and start typing what appears within your newspaper on your computer or your laptop by dedicating 30 minutes or 60 minutes of your time. If you do so, in the upcoming 6 weeks, you will significantly improve your typing speed. If not, you are going to struggle to manage your time at your exam. So always make sure to practice your reading and typing. If you are struggling with them, dedicate time on a daily basis to practice your typing as well as reading. This is the only way to overcome these shortcomings, which will ensure that you manage your time appropriately at your exam. And when expanding each answer point, develop a paragraph which consists of 2 to 4 sentences. So if you come up with just 2 sentences, that would do. So, once you have developed this type of an answer plan, you are supposed to expand this answer plan in paragraph form. So when doing so, try to come up with 2 to 4 sentences, and do not spend time on formatting. The only type of formatting you should be conversant with is with regards to developing main headings in bold and underlined format, and subheadings in bold format. And you have to think about paragraphs. You have to develop a paragraph per answer point. Other than that, you need not worry about any other type of formatting, such as paragraph alignment, your font size, the font style, and whatnot. These are irrelevant to your exam. And always remember, you are going to be marked based on the quality of your answer, not the quantity. So I've seen some tutors out there saying that in order to score X amount of marks, you need to come up with an X amount of words within your answer, which is absolutely stupid. Why am I saying this? Given the fact that the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So always think that you are working within this company. And when working within this company, when you are reporting to your superior, is your finance director going to count the number of words in your response in your email? Or is your finance director going to look at whether you have addressed what appeared within the scenario and whether you have addressed the requirement? Your superior is always going to look at the content, the quality of your content, not the quantity. So always remember, this is why CIMA is considered as a professional qualification. In an academic qualification, when developing assignments, for instance, or when doing research papers, for instance, there's a separate word count which you have to be considerate about. But in this exam, since this is a professional qualification which is intended to test your decision making and evaluation skills in a practical manner, your word count makes absolutely no sense. As long as you come up with a quality answer, even if your word count is extremely limited, that's totally fine, as long as you have come up with the appropriate quality of points which are expected at this examination. So that's your answering technique. And then let's try to understand how your exam platform works. So as you know, we at TCS, we have developed an exam platform which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system, which paves way for you to practice each mock exam under exam conditions. So this is the first page of your typical exam platform. And once you click on begin, you will be directed to the first section of your paper. So this screenshot is taken from SCS Mock 1, section number 1. You will see the timer. The timer runs out from 60 minutes. So you'll see a timer when you start your attempt. It would read as 60, but then it keeps running down to 0. and you see a section number as well, which indicates the fact that there are 3 sections and you are in the first section out of the 3 sections. And you will also see 4 different buttons. You have access to a calculator on which you can work out numbers if it is necessary. However, it's unlikely that you'd have to work out numbers unless and otherwise you have to calculate a post-investment gearing. Okay, and also you have access to a scratch pad if you want. Whilst going through the scenario, if you feel that you want to jot down some points, you can use the scratch pad to do so. Other than that, don't use it to develop the answer plan. I'm going to explain as to why I'm suggesting this in a little while. And you'd also gain access to the reference material because as part of each scenario, you will gain access to a single reference material, or you might have access to multiple reference material. So this additional information can be accessed by clicking on this button. Also, you have access to your pre-scene document. If you want, you can go through the pre-scene as and when it is necessary by clicking on this button. So once you click on the reference material, a pop-up appears to the right of your screen in which additional information is shared with you. You can close this pop-up whenever you need. You can move this around as well. And at the same time, once you click on the next button, you will be directed to your answer screen, and your typical answer screen looks like this. So within this screen, you can see the timer is there, the section number is there, as well as you can see the 4 different buttons, the same 4 buttons which you saw previously. And you are supposed to develop the answer plan on the answer screen. Why am I saying this? Because it's quite easy for you to develop the answer plan, because all reference material, the pre-scene document, the requirement, all these pop-ups appear to the right of your screen. So rather than having to shift between 2 pages, 2 windows rather, the answering screen as well as the scratch pad, rather than having to shift between 2 different screens, what you'd have to do is you can easily develop the answer plan onto the left of your screen, because you have access to all information to the right of your screen. So that's how the exam platform works. So as you can see, you have access to the reference material by clicking on the reference material button. And similarly, once you click on the pre-scene button, you will see a pop-up appears with 2 tabs. One is dedicated towards your pre-scene document, so you can access your pre-scene easily. And at the same time, you can also access your task or the requirement when you are on the answer screen itself. So you need not go back to the previous page and read through if you want to read through the requirement. Instead, all information which is necessary appears to the right of your screen, which enables you to develop the answer plan and structure your answer effectively without having to shift pages. Okay, so this is the benefit of the Pearson VUE system. They have thought about your betterment. That is why you have access to all information to the right of your screen, which makes your life extremely easy, because when it comes to developing the answer plan, you are not supposed to come up with extended answers in paragraph form. Instead, you are supposed to develop your answer in bullet points. So it's not going to take up a lot of space onto the right of your screen. So whilst developing the answer plan, as and when necessary, you can gain access to the requirement, you can gain access to the pre-scene document, you can gain access to the reference material, since all these pop-ups appear to the right of your screen. So this is an extremely easy methodology. And once you have developed the answer plan, then you need to take steps to utilizing the remaining 25 minutes or the last 25 minutes in each section. You need to expand the answer plan in paragraph form, and when expanding the answer plan, close up all these pop-ups and simply focus on expanding each and every point which appears within your answer plan. And another benefit of developing the answer plan on the answer screen instead of the scratch pad is the fact that once you have all these points, it's simply a matter of expanding each and every point. So you need not retype the entire answer. You have already thought out what you should include within your answer. It's simply a matter of expanding each and every point which you have highlighted in here. So if I'm to expand these points, I'm going to say, first things first, we can adopt a do nothing strategy, which gives us enough time for us to identify the root cause. And although this is the case, certain stakeholders might consider this to be an evasive methodology when they are not informed when the company is facing some type of a problem, and this might lead to a loss of shareholder confidence. So when I know what I should include in the answer, it's quite easy for me to expand it in paragraph form. So just like how I explained right now, you are supposed to adhere to a similar methodology when it comes to expanding the answer plan. And if you develop the answer plan on the scratchpad, what happens is, let's assume you have you decided to include 7 points in your answer plan, but because you are shifting between two screens, you forgot to mention one. You missed out on one. Because you are not operating in the under normal conditions. If you're operating under normal conditions, you can easily count the number of paragraphs and compare it to the number of points which appears within your answer plan. But you are not operating in the under normal conditions. You are operating in a time pressured environment, so you do not have time to check your answers, check whether you have considered or included all the points which you intended to include in your answer. That is why you have to leave out the scratchpad, develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. If so, you are taking steps to ensure that all these points which you intended to include are covered within your final answer, which is in paragraph form. And once you are done with attempting the section, you can click on the submit answer button. When you do so, a pop-up will appear, and once you click on yes, you'd be directed to the next section. Some students think that they can take a break between sections by not clicking on any of these buttons. That is not how this exam works. Let's assume you are in the 59th minute. You are done with your section 1. So you click on submit answer and this pop-up appears. You are fatigued. Because of that, you want to take a 5-minute break. So you won't click on any of these buttons. And once you're ready to start section number 2, when you click on yes, when you are directed to section number 2, you will see that the timer starts running down from 55 minutes, not 60 minutes. Because once your first 60 minutes are done, automatically the timer starts counting down concerning your subsequent section. So you can't take breaks. You cannot try to be too smart and go against this system. Instead, even if you do not click on either of these buttons, the time of section number 2 or the subsequent section will start running down. So don't do so. If so, you'd be spending time unnecessarily. And once you click on yes, you'd be directed to section number 2. And when you are in section number 2, all the functionalities are quite the same. The only difference is the fact that there is no previous button. So this indicates the fact that once you're done with section number 1, you cannot go back to section number 1. So you can't go back to a previous section. That is why you need to make sure that you plan 60 minutes, 3 slots of 60 minutes each, and practice this answering technique, because you cannot go back to a previous section as and when needed. So that's how your exam platform works. And I hope you'd utilize this exam platform when utilizing our resources. So let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS before we move on to the mock exam discussion. So I'm on the SCS page. If you are yet to create a free user account, click on this button and create one. And once you have created a free user account, you gain access to our student dashboard. And via our student, when you are in the student dashboard, click on my courses. In front of SCS free, you would see an access content button. Click on it. Once you click on it, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops. And also you'd gain access to the free study material, which includes the pre-seen mind map and the answer plan of mock exam 1. After this session, I will be uploading the syllabus coverage document to this platform as well. And also you'd gain access to mock exam 1, its questions and suggested answers. And via the exams tab, you have the opportunity of attempting mock number 1 under exam conditions via the exam platform, which I showed you right now. So after attending this webinar, practice your answering and time management techniques under exam conditions to see whether you are capable of developing answer plans within 30 minutes, whether you are capable of sticking to our answering technique And this is the best way to encounter stress rather than, facing stressful situations for the first time at your exam. It's better to encounter all stressors right now when conducting preparations. Then you can take steps to, improve your skill set with the intention of managing these stressful situations. So you can, even without investing on our courses, you can gain access to our exam platform via which you can attempt mock number 1 in its entirety via our exam platform. All right, so create a free user account, and if you are interested in investing on our paid content, click on this button and check the sample material before you do so. And you are invited to join our SCS WhatsApp discussion forum. If you're yet to join it, please click on it and join our WhatsApp group, via which we'll keep you guys informed about the weekly webinar and workshop commencement dates and times. And at the same time, we will be sharing free resources with you. And if you have any questions, you can get them answered instantaneously via this WhatsApp group. And talking about what we offer 2 packages, the essential course and the premium course. And each course is intended for 2 different types of students. Looking at the essential course, this is designed for those who have completed their OTQs or those who are coming through the general route. Since you have completed your OTQs, you have already learned your theory, so you won't have any knowledge gaps. So when conducting your preparation, your job is to simply take steps to improve your application skills. So under the essential course, you'd gain access to the recordings of all webinars and workshops, 6 mock exams with suggested answers. And as I mentioned earlier, we have made sure to cover all syllabus areas across these 6 mock exams. I've already developed these 6 mock exams, and I'm in the process of developing the 7th mock exam as well, just to be safe, so that all areas are covered, or various different angles. All these different angles are covered within the mock exams. You will also gain access to pre-scene analysis videos. Once you have watched these pre-scene analysis videos, you would gain an in-depth understanding of what appears within your pre-scene document. You will also gain access to the annotated pre-scene, the industry and financial analysis slides. Let me quickly show you what the annotated pre-scene looks like. As you can see, we have summarized the entire pre-scene by coming up with tutor annotations. And at the same time, we have conducted our own analysis, thereby highlighting any shortcomings if there are any. And at the same time, we have highlighted probable exam scenarios which can be tested, which is tied to all this information which appear within our annotations. And also, we have evaluated the financial statements in depth, yet making sure to keep things simple so that you can gain a good understanding of how to evaluate your financial statements. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, and the statement of changes in equity. And at the very end, we've conducted a ratio analysis. At this stage, it's essential that you gain a good understanding of what these ratios tell us about your company as opposed to your closest competitor. So we have, when conducting this analysis, we have compared your performance against its closest competitor so that you can easily understand the financial standing of your chosen company. And as part of the industry analysis slides, we have considered 4 different elements. In the first part, we have defined your industry. In the second part, we have explained about the competitive landscape concerning real-life companies. And in the third part, we have indicated about industry trends. And based on these industry trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And at the very end, we have considered 2 real companies, thereby explaining how these 2 real-life companies operate within your chosen market. All right, so these are the resources on offer under the essential course. You'd also gain access to the top 20 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable scenarios which can be tested at your exam. You will gain access to a case study familiarization kit. Once you have read through this kit, within 10 to 15 minutes, you will gain an in-depth understanding about the technicalities behind your exam. You will also gain access to a tutor-managed live chat and OTQ revision cards. So after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you need to brush up your knowledge concerning a certain conceptual element, do not waste time. Simply go through these revision cards in a jiffy. You are in a position to brush up your knowledge. So the essential course is priced at £299. And talking about the premium course is designed for those who have failed the exam previously and those who are coming through exemption routes. So both these students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge as well as issues with application. So with the intention of teaching you each conceptual element and at the same time teaching you application, we have developed some additional resources and included them under the premium course on top of what appears within the essential course. So under the premium course, you'd also gain access to the online mock exam platform on which you can attempt all 6 mocks under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. You will gain access to answer plans of all 6 mock exams. As I mentioned earlier, I'm in the process of developing the 7th one as well. So I will be developing an answer plan for the 7th mock exam as well. So when you have access to these answer plans, it makes your life easy when it comes to understanding the logic behind each answer, understanding how you should work on application. And at the same time, it helps you when you are conducting revision. You are in a little while, you are going to see what an answer plan looks like and how you should develop these answer plans. So when conducting revision, when you have access to these answer summaries, then it makes your life easy when it comes to understanding how you should approach the answering technique or how we should structure your answers. You'd also gain access to 15 masterclasses in total. So from mocks 2 to 6, we will be developing masterclasses focused on each and every mock exam. And in each mock exam, there are 3 sections. So 3 sections into 5 mocks come out to 15 sections in total. So focused on each section, we have developed masterclasses with the intention of teaching you the logic behind each answer, teaching you the theoretical concepts covered within each section of our mock exams, and at the same time, teaching you application skills. So if you have knowledge gaps and issues with application, these masterclasses are intended for you so that you can easily, in a jiffy, learn theory and improve application skills. You'd also receive one-on-one tutor feedback on 2 mock exams, namely mocks 3 and 5. This is the type of feedback on offer at TCS. As you can see, this student has written just 3 points or 3 paragraphs, and you can see the type of feedback on offer at TCS. So we have provided extensive feedback with the prime intention of highlighting your shortcomings, because without you understanding your shortcomings, you won't stand a chance to take steps to improve or get rid of these shortcomings. And therefore, you'd keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. So this is the best way to understand what's wrong with your answering technique, which will ensure that you can take steps to avoid these shortcomings when conducting revision. So at the very end, we have indicated mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. We have also indicated a success rate focused on each subtask, which thereby indicating the subtasks in which your performance was substandard. So this student has only scored 29 marks. Why is this the case? Because in each subtask, the student has not achieved the threshold success rate of 54%. So when you receive this type of feedback, you will understand what your shortcomings are, and you can easily focus your attention towards revision focused on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. Therefore, you are supposed to pre-develop answer plans focused on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. All right, so that's the type of feedback on offer under the premium course. And the premium course is priced at £849, which can be paid in 2 installments of £424 each. Or if you opt to pay in full, you will save £100. Therefore, the price is just £749. You can click on either of these buttons and invest on your preferred course. And each product or each package is available until the 28th of February 2026. So if you're planning on sitting for the exams happening in February, you can invest right now, which gives you some additional time, which enables you to focus on your revision in a successful manner. And let me quickly take you to the study plan to explain what you are supposed to achieve within this week. So as per our study plan, we are in week number 3. I hope you, completed what you were supposed to do in the previous week, in which you were supposed to master your pre-seen document. So after mastering the pre-seen document, I said that you should wait until you learn your answering and time management techniques before you kickstart your mock attempts. So after this webinar, you should focus your attention towards attempting mock exams. So this is the most hectic week compared to all the other weeks as per our 8-week study plan, because as you can see, from week 4 onwards, you are supposed to dedicate just 9 hours of study time per week, but within this week, you are supposed to dedicate 12 hours of study time. Why is this the case? Simply given the fact that you are supposed to attempt 2 mock exams within this week. If you attempt 2 mock exams in this week, from the next week onwards, it's simply a matter of attempting 1 single mock exam. So in order to stand a chance to attempt a mock per week, you have to put in the hard yards within this week, attempt 2 mock exams. Once you have attempted the 2 mock exams, we have not developed master classes focused on mock exam 1, because master classes are covered via the workshops as well as this webinar, today's webinar. So because of that, we have not developed master classes focused on mock number 1. Actually speaking, mock 1 is to get your bearings with the answering and time management techniques. Once you're done with it, direct your attention towards mock number 2. Attempt mock number 2 via our exam platform or under exam conditions. Once you're done with it, watch the 3 master classes which are already available via the exam platform. If you have invested on premium, if you go check your exam platform, you'd see these 3 master classes which are focused on mock number 2, which are intended to teach you the logic behind each answer, the theoretical elements covered within mock number 2, and application. And once you have learned your theory and application, test your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans on your own. And when it comes to redeveloping these answer plans, don't do it under timed conditions. The objective is to refine your knowledge. So you can do this leisurely. And when redeveloping answer plans, don't focus on redeveloping answer plans concerning all 3 sections. Focus on each and every subtask. So you have already learned theory via the master classes. Once you are done watching these master classes, focus your attention towards subtask A of section number 1. Try to develop the answer plan on your own. Try to remember what you have learned via the master classes. And once you have redeveloped this answer plan, compare your fresh answer plan to TCS's to further understand whether you have included the same type of points, or whether you are still committing mistakes, or whether you have missed out on certain points which should appear within your answer. So this is the best type of revision you have to be involved with, because other than focusing on mock related preparations, mock related revisions, if you try to do something else, you will be wasting time, because you just have 6 weeks at your disposal. So that is what you are supposed to achieve within this week. Once you are done with the first 2 mocks, from week 4 onwards, it's simply a matter of attempting a mock per week and conducting revision focused on the same weekly mock exam, which will give you enough time to improve your skill set, improve your knowledge and application skills significantly. So don't wait until the last moment. If you're planning to sit for the exams happening in November, you must start right now, because you only have 6 weeks at your disposal, and within these 6 weeks, you have to attempt all 6 mock exams, watch all master classes, and conduct revision focused on the same 6 mock exams. All right, so that's what we offer. Having said that, let's move on to the discussion of mock exam 1. So let me, take you through these answer planning steps, which I highlighted earlier, whilst explaining how you should develop your answer. All right, so first things first, as per our 5-step approach, you are supposed to read the scenario, taking 5 minutes of your time. All right, so I'm going to direct your attention towards the last subtask, which is taken from SCS Mock 1, section number 1. On an unrelated matter, I'm sharing an article which was published in Daxler News. Please refer to the attachment. So let's look at what appears within this attachment, which is taken from Daxler News. It carries a heading which goes as Wheels of Change or Waste. And this is written by the environmental correspondent of Daxler News. Public scrutiny is mounting over the hidden environmental costs of electric vehicles. Despite their zero tailpipe emissions, experts warn that battery production, mineral extraction, and disposal pose serious ecological risks. An Eastland environmental agency report highlights rising demand for lithium, cobalt, and nickel, often sourced from sensitive or unstable regions where mining leads to deforestation, water pollution, and human rights abuses. So as per this news article, we have to rely on this electric vehicle industry has to rely on various different various different raw materials such as lithium, cobalt, and nickel, and these are sourced from sensible and unstable regions, which leads to deforestation, water pollution, and human rights abuses. And people think EVs are clean, said Dr. Albert Weiss, an environmental ethics advisor, but the truth is murkier. Battery factories emit vast amounts of carbon dioxide, and the mining footprint is devastating in some cases, which is absolutely right. There's a huge carbon footprint tied to battery manufacturing. As per your pre-seen, 45% of EV manufacturing emissions are tied to battery manufacturing. On top of these emissions, there are supply side emissions which are tied to mining various different raw materials such as lithium, cobalt, and whatnot. And battery disposal is an escalating concern because, as per what's highlighted within your pre-seen, you can only use an electric vehicle for something like 8 to 10 years. And once you are done using this vehicle, then from beyond that point, the battery starts to degrade. And once the battery power wanes off, you cannot replace the battery. You can replace the battery, but it's going to be costly. It's going to cost you $20,000 upwards. And on top of that, since the entire body of the vehicle is built around the battery, you have to dismantle the entire car if you are to replace the battery. So it makes absolutely no operational or financial sense to replace batteries. So because of this, battery disposal is going to be a real concern in the future. So that's exactly what's highlighted within this news article. Battery disposal is an escalating concern, with many EV makers lacking robust recycling programs, fueling fears of landfill overflow, toxic leaks, because lithium is, components such as lithium is extremely toxic, and soil contamination. As EV sales rise across Duxland, I've made a blunder here. As EV sales rise across Duxland, spent batteries are expected to surge in the coming decade. Movements like EV Greenwash are demanding stricter recycling laws, ethical sourcing, and transparent ESG reporting to ensure post-use accountability in the EV sector. Yes, and the Duxland government has already begun proposing extended producer responsibility or EPR legislation for EV batteries, while institutional investors are increasingly pricing in sustainability risks when valuing automotive firms. While industry insiders acknowledge the challenges, they caution that stricter regulations could increase production costs and constrain innovation. However, stakeholder pressure is mounting, particularly from ESG-focused investment funds, regulators, and environmentally conscious consumers. All right, so that's what is highlighted within this news article. Let's try to figure out what your requirement is. We are supposed to recommend comprehensive strategies for Cewmlator to effectively manage stakeholder pressures created due to the environmental issues. And so we are done with the first step of our answering technique. And the second step is to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner before you develop the answer plan. So you are supposed to simplify this requirement, recommend comprehensive strategies for Cewmlator to effectively manage stakeholder pressures created due to environmental issues. So I've simplified the requirement as strategies to manage stakeholder pressure. And then the next step is to develop headings and subheadings. So managing stakeholders is my main heading. As you can see in here, I've come up with a main heading which goes as managing stakeholders, which is in bold and underlined format. And then the next step is to develop the answer plan by taking 30 minutes of your time. So I'm not taking you through the entire section. I'm simply focusing your attention towards the last subtask. But remember, when it comes to developing the answer plan, develop the answer plan focused on all subtasks within 30 minutes. And when doing so, you are supposed to, before you develop the answer plan, you are supposed to determine mark allocations based on the weightages, since each point carries 2 or 3 marks. So the mark allocation, the weightage provided is 50%. Based on that, 25 marks are dedicated for this subtask. 50% of 50 marks is 25 marks. So 25 marks are dedicated for the subtask. And your next step is to determine how many points you should include to gain 25 marks. Assuming that each valid point carries 3 marks, divide 25 by 3, then you get 8 as your answer. And assuming that each valid point carries 2 marks, divide 25 by 2, then you get 12.5 as your answer. So if you come up with 8 to 12 points within this subtask, you are going to gain full marks, which ensures that your answer is not too short or too long. All right, so that's the that's part of the fourth step. And then once you know how many points you should include in your answer, you should develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. So let's try to understand what you should consider when structuring this answer. So in this question, your knowledge concerning the Mendelow's matrix is indirectly tested. So the examiner, since he or she is going to replicate a real life corporate environment, the examiner is never going to mention a concept by name. So you have to pick up the hints as and when necessary. So whenever your knowledge concerning stakeholder management is tested, you need to know for a fact that your knowledge concerning the Mendelow's matrix will be tested. So let me quickly explain the Mendelow's matrix before I proceed with the answer plan concerning this subtask. So as per the Mendelow's matrix, with the intention of managing stakeholders, first things first, you have to categorize stakeholders into quadrants. So when you are categorizing stakeholders, you have to consider the level of power of each stakeholder group, as well as the level of interest of each stakeholder group. So the level of power could be high or low, and the level of interest could also be high or low. So based on this, you are supposed to categorize each stakeholder. So there are a set of stakeholders which carry a low level of interest and at the same time a low level of power. So these are the stakeholders who are not really interested about the environmental footprint of the EV sector. So we need not really be concerned about them. So we need to execute minimal effort. We need not really be concerned about them or try to manage these type of stakeholders. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have stakeholders which carries a high level of power and a high level of interest. These type of stakeholders are known as key players. So since these stakeholders have a high level of interest as well as a high level of power, they are in a position to enforce their thinking or influence our board in a direct manner. Therefore, we have to consider them as key players. Usually, the shareholders of our company, majority shareholders of our company should be considered as key players, and therefore we should listen to these majority shareholders and try to satisfy them as much as possible. And also there are another set of stakeholders who carry a high level of interest, but a high level of power, but a low level of interest. So these are powerful stakeholders such as the government and regulators, and they are not too interested to know about how we run our business unless and otherwise something happens which shifts their level of interest from low to high. So if their level of interest is low, as long as we keep them satisfied, these stakeholders won't take any action against us. So for instance, if you look at any given industry, as long as companies pay taxes on time, as long as companies adhere to regulation, then the regulators as well as the government will not be too interested to know about how a company is run, and therefore they will not try to influence the board of these type of companies. So these are this is known as the keep satisfied quadrant. So in order to ensure that these stakeholders level of interest will not shift to a higher level, we have to keep them satisfied by paying taxes and adhering to laws and regulations. And also talking about the keep informed quadrant, these are the type of stakeholders who have a high level of interest but a low level of power. So they are extremely interested about what we are up to, how players operate within this industry. However, they don't have a lot of power. So with the intention of ensuring that we keep them within this quadrant, we keep their power levels low, we have to keep these type of stakeholders informed at all times. If not, if we do not inform these stakeholders, these type of stakeholders, given their high level of interest, they will get in touch with similar stakeholders, which results in a situation where their level of power increases, because when these stakeholders get together, their level of power increases. When this happens, they become key players all of a sudden. And when they become key players, we will have to listen to them. So in the keep informed category, you usually see the general public, pressure groups and whatnot, the media, who are interested about what we do, but they don't have a high level of power individually. So with the intention of ensuring that these various different stakeholders do not come together, which will which will increase their level of power, with the intention of ensuring that this does not happen, we have to keep these guys informed, thereby communicating with them as and when necessary. So that is what a Mendelow's matrix is all about. Now it's time for you to apply the same knowledge in a practical manner when developing your answer plan. So when developing your answer, first things first, as per the Mendelow's matrix, you should identify before you manage the main stakeholders. And when identifying these stakeholders, before we manage them, I said that you have to divide them into quadrants, and this division should be carried out considering the level of power and interest of each stakeholder group. All right, so that's how you should start your answer. I've never mentioned about a Mendelow's matrix within my answer. I'm simply utilizing the same knowledge and applying it in a practical manner. So when reporting to the finance director, I'm saying that, okay, before we try to manage stakeholders, we have to, divide them into quadrants. And when doing so, we have to consider the level of power and interest of each stakeholder group. So first things first, let's direct our attention towards environmental advocacy groups. So in the unseen, in the news article, there is a mention about environmental advocacy groups. So these environmental advocacy groups have a high level of interest, yet they have a low level of power. They cannot directly influence our board. However, they can harness the power of regulators and the government. So although these guys have a low level of power, they can influence highly powerful stakeholders such as the government and regulators. And if governments or if the government or the regulators become so interested about this environmental issue, they will shift from the keep satisfied quadrant to the key player quadrant. Then we can't go back. We have to always listen to them and change the internal dynamics as and when necessary. So in order to ensure that these environmental advocacy groups do not have the power to harness, do not have the chance to harness the power of regulators and the government, we have to keep these guys informed as per the Mendelow's matrix. So when keeping these guys informed, do not negotiate with them directly, because this type of engagement may be perceived as damage control. So when we try to engage with these stakeholders directly, someone or the media might think, or the stakeholders themselves might think that we have done something wrong. Because of that, we are trying to approach them, and we are trying to get rid of their interest levels. So rather than doing so, rather than enabling them to create such a perception in the market, we have to use media to engage, in which we come up with, or we determine our own narrative. Cewmlator's narrative should be publicized via media. It makes absolutely no sense to directly engage with these stakeholders. If we try to do so, this can be perceived as us trying to opt for damage control. So that's how we should deal with environmental advocacy groups. Thereby, we are executing a keep informed strategy. All right, then looking at directing your attention towards the government and regulators. As I mentioned earlier, the government and regulators usually have a low level of interest. So because of that, as per the Mendelow's matrix, they are categorized under the keep satisfied quadrant. However, as per the news article, the government is trying to come up with new laws and regulations which will impact the dynamics within our industry, which indicates the fact that their level of interest is not low anymore. Their level of interest has increased to the high category. Therefore, the government and regulators, which are usually categorized under the keep satisfied quadrant, should be categorized in the key player quadrant as per what's highlighted within your unseen. So this is when your application skills are tested. So when you are learning about the Mendelow's matrix, you might have learned about the government and the regulators who should be categorized under the keep satisfied quadrant. And if you write the same thing, you are not going to get marks because you have lacked an understanding of application, and at the same time it appears that you do not have the ability to conduct your own evaluations. Instead, you have provided highly technical answers which are totally irrelevant at this stage. So as per the unseen information, the government and regulators have become key players given their high level of interest. So I've said that they have a high level of power and high level of interest. Why am I saying this? I'm not just saying it. I'm backing up my argument with an appropriate justification. As per the unseen, there is a growing momentum behind EPR legislation. So there is a mention about EPR legislation. That's exactly what you can see here. Already begun proposing extended producer responsibility EPR legislation for EV batteries. So, since there's a growing momentum behind EPR legislation, the level of interest had grown from low to high. And therefore, since we are supposed to consider them as key players, we have to engage with the government and regulators directly. And there are two options at our disposal as per what we have learned under corporate political activity under your E3 syllabus. The two options are to lobby or to opt for bridging. So we have to practice either of these strategies or both together. So we can try and lobby. And when we are carrying out these lobbying initiatives, we have to explain the adverse impacts of these new laws or the type of adverse impacts of these new laws will bring forth on our stakeholders which operate within the industry. Because if these laws come into play, the livelihoods of employees and investments of shareholders might be in question. Because when our costs increase, the demand for our products will decrease, especially given the level of competitiveness within our industry. Until the year 2030, ICE vehicles are still there, going to be there in the market. Even beyond 2030, ICE vehicles which were manufactured before 2030 can be used within the market. And there's no shelf life to these ICE vehicles compared to electric vehicles. Because as you know, as I explained in last week's pre-scene analysis, our batteries degrade after a certain period of time, which makes it hard for us to keep using our vehicles after 8 to 10 years. But these type of problems are not visible when you look at ICE vehicles. As long as you service them on time, you can use it forever if you want. So these type of problems, these type of competition is there in the market. And when this is the case, on top of all these problems, when our products are 26% higher, the price of our products are 26% higher than ICE vehicles, due to this legislation coming into place, when the costs of manufacturing further increases, then we will become, our competitiveness will be impacted in a negative manner. Because already the customers don't like to invest on ICE vehicles as per the electric vehicles as per what appears within your pre-scene, as per your industry dynamics. So when this is the case, when our products are pricey, and when the costs are supposed to increase due to this legislation, the prices are going to further increase in the future. And this is not going to be beneficial for us. And if so, livelihoods of employees as well as investments of shareholders might be lost. So it's essential that we explain all these disastrous consequences tied to this new legislation and try to lobby the government. And also, as per the news article, these type of regulations will stifle innovation within this industry. So all these things should be explained to the regulators and the government. And we can try lobby and try to change the laws for our benefit. If not, if this option is not at our disposal, we have to opt for a bridging strategy in which we have to take steps to change the internal dynamics if needed to fall in line with new regulations which are going to come into play in the future. So in both these instances, we are directly engaging with the government and regulators. We are trying to lobby and change the regulation if possible. If not, if we feel that we are not in a position to change the regulation, then we will at least get informed of what the government intends to do in the future, the type of laws and regulations which are coming, which will come into play in the future. And this early information gathering will ensure that we have enough time to change our internal dynamics. That's what a bridging strategy is all about. And also, we have to think in terms of the investors and shareholders, because there's a mention about ESG concerned shareholders, such as institutional shareholders. So normally, investors and shareholders have a high level of power and a high level of interest, especially concerning the ESG focused shareholders, which are institutional shareholders. So they have a high level of power because they have invested a lot of money on our company. So these players, just like the government and regulators, as per your news article, within this scenario should be considered as key players of your organization. So we have to take steps to provide reassurances. We can do so by using our existing sustainability reports information. As you know, within your pre-scene, there's a sustainability report which appears. I explained how we should look at this sustainability report. I've explained all elements of the sustainability report, highlighting the shortcomings as well in the third pre-scene analysis video. So if you had watched it, you know what I'm talking about. So we have to reassure these investors and shareholders using our existing sustainability report. And with the intention of building trust, we have to publish a comprehensive report, including the disclosures about indirect emissions from the supply chain and product life cycle. These type of disclosures do not appear within our current sustainability report. I've highlighted this issue within the annotated pre-scene, as well as in the pre-scene analysis videos. We have to also set measurable goals. Although we are keeping track of waste and CO2e emissions and whatnot, we don't have any targets at the moment as per our current sustainability report. So we have to provide additional information, thereby improve our sustainability reporting by setting measurable goals, such as trying to reduce CO2e intensity by 30% by 2030. And we have to align our sustainability reporting standards with global standards. And also, we have to verify metrics which we use internally via external assurance providers. As I mentioned earlier, we do keep tabs about our waste as well as emissions. However, we have to see whether our computations are accurate or not by comparing our performance against external standards, and let external parties verify our metrics and performance concerning our various different metrics. And also, it's essential that we disclose about human rights and sourcing policies, because it's clearly mentioned in here. Where is it? I can't find it, but there was a mention about supply chain, the issues tied to the supply chain. Yeah, I can't find it, but that's fine. So there was a mention about issue tied to the supply chain, tied to the mining industry. So we are not considering human rights within our existing sustainability report, so we should consider them and include it within a fresh sustainability report, which is intended to build trust and reassure these key players, which are investors and shareholders of our company. And also, it's essential that we establish a sustainability committee or expand the mandate of our existing risk and CSR committee. And I think it's ideal for Stamatios to provide leadership to this committee. Why is this the case? Given the fact that this individual is a non-executive director, and given the fact that he comes from a sustainability background. And when setting up this sustainability committee or expanding the mandate of the existing risk and CSR committees, we have to ensure that the membership consists of a majority of independent non-executive directors to fall in line with corporate governance best practices. Again, I explained these things in depth in the pre-scene analysis videos. And also, the responsibility of this sustainability committee should be to develop and deliver the sustainability strategy, because sustainability is going to be a key concern in the future. And also we have to think in terms of how we deal with our customers and dealerships, because there's a mention about it within the reference material, within the news article. So customers and dealerships, usually they will have a high level of power, but their level of interest might vary. So if you are dealing with B2B customers, which are, institutions or other businesses, such as the public sector, then their level of power will be higher compared to a single customer. A single customer will have a high level of interest, but a low level of power. And the same could be said about dealerships as well. If you look at a small dealer, the level of power is lesser compared to a large dealer. So in order to, manage them, we have to consult with each type of stakeholder group concerning the customers and dealers and try to understand their ESG needs. And, by consulting them, we will understand about their level of interest, which enables us to take an informed decision about how we should manage each type of customer group and each type of dealerships. And also we have to be concerned about the general public and the media, given the fact that, news about this industry, adverse news about this industry is already publicized within this news article. And the general public and the media has a high level of interest concerning these environmental issues. However, they don't have direct power, they have indirect power. And since they have indirect power, public opinion can shape behavior of powerful stakeholders such as ESG concerned investors, regulators, and the government, because the government and regulators are always going to listen to what the general public is saying, what the media is saying. So would the institutional shareholders who are operating with ESG objectives in mind. So with the intention of keeping these guys informed, keeping the general public and the media informed, we have to publish an updated sustainability report, just like how we try to convince our ESG concerned investors, and we should hold media briefings when and if necessary. And in a general sense, we have to conduct an internal investigation to see whether the article's information is factual, because you can't really believe media these days. So we have to see whether what they are saying within this news article is that factual or not. If we find out that the information is factual, we have to accept fault publicly as and when necessary and commit to corrective action. All right, so that's how you should structure your answer. So that's your where is this? That's your fourth step, and we are in the final step, in which you are supposed to expand the answer plan in paragraph form, thereby developing a paragraph per answer point, which takes up 20 to 25 minutes of your time. So once you have developed this type of an answer plan, your final answer should look something like this. As you can see, you don't see any bullet points or single line sentences. You are not expected to develop answers in bullet points or single line sentences. Instead, you are supposed to develop a paragraph per answer point. That's exactly what you can see in here. Based on each point, I've developed a separate paragraph. Okay, so that's how you should structure your answers and how you should finalize your answer. As I mentioned earlier, although I'm asking you to develop the answer plans concerning all subtasks within 30 minutes, you are definitely going to run out of time. Don't get discouraged. It's best to understand your shortcomings right now rather than facing them for the first time at your real exam. So after understanding these shortcomings, you can take steps to refine your answering technique. And once you get your bearings with this answering technique at your exam, you will have the capability of developing answer plans within just 30 minutes, which will ensure that you never run out of time. And at the same time, this will ensure that you have the capability of structuring your answers appropriately, and you know how to tackle each syllabus area and how to work on your application, because this is a bit tough. You need to know your theories. You need to apply the conceptual knowledge which you have gained via your E3, F3, and P3 syllabi when developing answers. And at the same time, as and when necessary, you need to bring in pre-seen info with the intention of adding value to your answers, or justifying your arguments. And at all times, you need to ensure that your answer is fully aligned with the unseen information. So if you, after going through this news article, if you missed out on one key stakeholder and therefore it does not appear within your answer, you are not going to get marks for that point. So, that's why I'm saying that this is tough, but with practice, with revision, after watching masterclasses, if you take steps to redevelop answer plans, you will make sure that you really understand the logic behind each answer. You really understand how to tackle each syllabus area, and you have the capability of developing answers which are fully aligned with each requirement, fully aligned with the unseen info, fully aligned with the pre-seen info, and at the same time, you have the capability of bringing in theoretical or conceptual knowledge as and when necessary, with the intention of developing high quality answers. All right, so that's what I wanted to highlight. And I invite you to practice answering technique by practicing the answering and time management technique, which you learned right now, by attempting mock number 1 on TCS's exam platform. I explained how you can gain access to the exam platform. So, practice these techniques and see where you stand as a student. All right, so those who adhered to our study plan achieved good marks. So we are still in the process of computing our pass rate by reaching out to all of our students who sat for the exams which happened in August 2025. So we achieved a 92% pass rate in May. And similarly, this time's results are extremely good as well. Almost all students have passed, and the highest, the individual who scored the highest marks as per the information available at the moment ended up achieving 121 marks. So this individual started preparations just 3 weeks before the exam. I'm not asking you to wait until the last 3 weeks. And this individual failed previously. The individual who ended up scoring 121 failed previously. And, I if I'm not mistaken, achieved something like 60 or 65 or 70. Something close to 70, could be say between 65 to 70. But after you stick into our study process, ended up scoring more than 120 marks when the pass mark is just 80. So, and this individual came through an exemption route as well. So if such a student who ended up scoring just 65 to 70 marks previously ended up scoring 121, just imagine what you can achieve if you stick to our study plan. I hope you'd stick to our study plan. And if you need any personal assistance, drop me a message via WhatsApp. I'm always there to help you guys out. Having said that, I'm going to conduct the Q&A. Therefore, I'm going to pause the recording. Feedback, folks. So thank you for those questions. I hope I addressed everything. And if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Visit our website and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours. And if you want to email us, you can do so via info@study@tcs.com. Or if you need instantaneous support, please drop me a message via WhatsApp on this number. And I invite you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of these weekly webinars and workshops are uploaded onto our YouTube handle. And via TikTok, you'd gain access to a set of videos, 6 videos in total, which is a good pre-seen mind map. So we have developed a pre-seen mind map, which we have already shared with you. And this can be downloaded via the exam platform, the student dashboard as well. So this is a good summary of the entire pre-seen. So refer to this document on a daily basis and watch the 6 TikTok videos, for instance, on your way to office, to constantly keep yourself reminded of the most important points which appear within your pre-seen document. And if you're yet to read our blog post, click on this blog button and read through this article to gain an understanding of the internals and externals of your chosen company. So having said that, it brings us to the end of today's webinar. I hope you gained a good understanding of how you should structure your answers, and which enables you to manage your time. And I hope you will practice these techniques whenever you are attempting our mock exams. And because as I mentioned earlier, without practicing them, just because you know these techniques, you won't have the capability of replicating the same techniques at your real examination. So I hope you'd start your preparations right now, which gives you access to 6 full weeks before your examination, which will ensure that you have enough time to attempt the mock exams, and not just attempt the mock exams. Also, you have enough time to refine your techniques, refine your answer structures, refine your knowledge and application skills by conducting revision focused on the same set of mock exams. So thank you very much for joining. And as I mentioned at the very inception of this session, I'm going to take you through the exam blueprint in next week's webinar, which is happening on Sunday. And in the same webinar, I'm going to share essential stress management techniques with you. So thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next Sunday.